Hello, everybody in the Love Party. We're just doing a quick video about standing for local elections. With standing for elections, it's a little bit three-dimensional. We're a little bit oldie-worldy from our point of view, but we do think it's something that we can do that will help. We've had some really good discussions about this recently. So the ways it can help are it can pattern interrupt. So where councils are being used to bring in the bigger globalist agenda, we can pattern interrupt that, and we can also make people aware of what's going on in the councils. Or in the case of Lindsay, where they've got a wonderful council who are doing wonderful work, we can reinforce that and give appreciation and gratitude, which is something that a lot of councillors will not often receive. So there's two ways to play it. We can either shine a light in the dark spaces, or we can amp up the really good energies that are already happening. Now, there is a logistical process to be done, which is probably a little bit daunting for a lot of people, but apparently it shouldn't be too difficult. How are we finding that, David?
Yeah, I had no intention of standing a few months ago, and then I found the Love Party and I joined, and they were looking for candidates, so I put my name forward. So then I had to do some research to see what it involves, and so the way I'm looking at it is if I go through all the processes to see if I can become a candidate, then at least succeed or fail, then the next person who comes along can benefit from what I've learned. So the first thing is which what are you going to stand for? You've got the mayors that's separate. You've got a parish council, which is a kind of very local level. So I'm looking at what is in between, and depending where you are in the country, whether you're in a city or in the countryside, there's different names, but there's ward councillor, borough councillor, town councillor, and I'm going to use the word ward councillor, and these are up for election on the 4th of May. So I looked at my ward, and my ward is actually in Ashford Council, which I have no interest. I'm a lot closer to Canterbury, and Canterbury, of course, they have they're proposing the smart city in 2045, and if I was going to be on the council, that's where I would want to be. So the first thing is you can stand. You don't have to stand in your own ward. So I've looked at the ward just down the road from me, which is Charlton, and I got in touch with the council, said I'm looking to stand. I went down. If you phone them beforehand, then they'll put it on the desk, and you get a 20-page leaflet on how to be nominated. And it's a very small window. Yeah, I think it's 17th of March to the 4th of April. So yeah, I mean, I found the council fairly useful. There's the website. So if you put in how to be a councillor, and it will come up. Mine came up. I chose Canterbury, and the information is pretty good. Like I say, the council gave me a pack, which is pretty good. The nomination forms are all there printed off, and from my own point of view, because I don't know anyone in that ward, I'd be lucky to get any votes. So I think the decision needs to be made: is it worth standing?
Hello, Julie. Julie's actually done this process, so that's nice to have you. You've actually stood for council twice before now, haven't you?
Yes, I did two parallel, one for the parish council and one for Sherwood Forest District. And then I did another one. So that was with Newark and Sherwood District Council. And then I did another one with Mansfield District Council that was for the Oak Tree Ward, because their councillor had died. And so they were doing a by-election. Right. I found both councils supportive in some ways. The Newark Sherwood seemed much more supportive as a process, and because I was totally new to it, and I had to be what they call a paper candidate, so there wasn't time for me to do any sort of campaigning or whatever they call it. And also because of lockdown, I didn't deliver any leaflets or even have any leaflets done. And I found they were really supportive of helping me to know what was needed. I was glad that I'd done that process. So you have to physically go to the council and meet up with the electoral review people for certain aspects of what they're needing to check, whereas other aspects you can actually just post through snail mail, as I call it. But then with Mansfield District Council, they gave me some support, and what they tend to do, so both councils did this, they come and see you and meet you and do certain things with you, then they disappear off with all the paperwork, and which is a bit, and you're like, okay, and I've just got to sit here and wait. And when they were seeing me for both of them, it was in quite a public area, in the entrance area. I wasn't taken into a separate room or anything like that. And then they just sort of disappear off with all your paperwork and things. And it's like, all right, so I just sit here and wait. And then you just sit there and wait, and hopefully you've got enough time and that sort of stuff. And you might
people
have,
skills.
yeah, and you might have had to pay for parking, which I had to for the Newark and Sherwood. I think I had to pay parking in their car park, but I didn't for the Mansfield District Council. And I know. And so then they came back, and I think one of the times, or might have been both times, they sort of had to ask me to do something else or write something else or whatever. And then that was it pretty much.
Right. And Lindsay's been looking into looking at the town council for Ottery St Mary, and that sounds a bit different to what we normally see. All the councils are different; they all have a slightly different procedure. And also, thankfully, he's found a council that he feels fairly positive about already, which is quite nice. And I was saying, if they're doing the right thing, reinforce that, make their job easier, try and promote that as good practice, tell other people about it. This is what our council's doing, what's yours doing? So we want to, obviously, if there's light stuff going on, we want it out there. So Lindsay, how's it going with the town council? How was your experience?
Yes, I've sort of got involved with the Love Party, and that started from actually writing a letter to my local MP, just realizing that things weren't going as I liked. I've found more and more information about certain things. I haven't had a response back from him, but then from finding the Love Party, very much following the ethos, and I've never considered or looked at councils before, but so I've been on a quick learning curve, but I found it relatively straightforward, I guess, by going down to, in the town that I live in Ottery St Mary, we've got a council office with some full-time staff, which I gather isn't always the case in different other areas. So it's bigger than a parish council, and there's 11. They want 11 councillors there. The mayor and the deputy mayor are two of them. And again, as Lynns explained, that it doesn't always have to go through an election, and quite likely in our town that there won't be the maximum amount of people applying to be councillors, so we automatically would get the position. And again, the councillors that are there in the town council don't show any allegiance to a party, so they all stand as independent in the town council. Whereas I would be sort of consciously representing the Love Party to get the word out to the community. And again, from my understanding, obviously the town councillors can be the first mouthpiece for the people. So reversing the current current government, where the people can stand up for themselves and push the control upwards instead of it all coming top down, then the councillors could be very useful position. I've also looked at the ward. So whereas there's 11 councillors in the town council, the ward of Ottery, there's three councillors, one of which is the mayor of Ottery, and the other two have been involved in the local politics for that bit longer. And there they do show their allegiance to the political party that they're involved with. And from hearing Lynn and from my understanding, then that's a bigger platform, and it's the next step between the MP of our area for East Devon. So it's beginning to sort of throw a bit more, and I think the council meetings have a very different sort of different level and role at that point. A parish council, and I know parish councillors in our area, and the small parishes where there's just 3 people, or 2 or 3 even to do the parish, then they get very much more involved with local planning. That becomes a big focus and general dynamics of the community. Whereas our town of Ottery, they're quite focused on regeneration and youth work, and it is positive. It's positive, but then I'm also conscious that by looking at the town council's web page, they're promoting all the usual mainstream, save the NHS, what's going on in Ukraine, and there's a big bold statement that Ottery St Mary has declared itself in a climate crisis, which, you know, I don't subscribe to all of that, any of that, really, not on the mainstream perspective anyway.
So that's something to question, perhaps. You know, and if there's a climate crisis in Ottery St Mary, what are we doing about it? As in, we're not just going to virtue signal about this. Come on, if you really believe this, where's the alternative energy sources? Come on, let's up our game here. And I think that's it. It's all about you know, yeah, shining a light on some things. I mean, there's some clear virtue signaling going on, which is not very helpful, but there's some very good stuff going on, and it's about calling and showing both, you know, this is great, what we're doing here is brilliant, you know, this is a bit silly, that sort of thing. But yeah, the parish council, if you want to apply for parish council, that would not normally be done at a party level, but you can do. That would be through the parish clerk, and that's usually on the website. You can find it through your borough website or through your through the parish website. It's usually somebody who's very part-time. They do get paid, but not a huge amount, and they'll be doing a few hours a week. The MP has no say in the local politics officially. I mean, they have the ear of councillors, obviously, because they've got a position, but they do not make decisions at council level. They are just there to represent you at national level. Sorry, Julie.
I think the parish council that I was putting myself forward to, I think I just did it with the same people at the electoral review place at Newark and Sherwood. Yeah, I'm sure it was the same people. I just gave one lot of paperwork in, but whether that was changed because of lockdown and things, I don't know.
I don't know either, and it might be that. I mean, certainly the borough council organise the elections. So even for a little village referendum, they will organise that, you know, to approve a village plan or something. So they certainly organise it, but I think the clerk would be the first port of call, and they probably would direct you to the borough, but the clerk would be where I'd go first.
I've got 2 sets of forms. So I've got a set of forms for the town council, and a separate set of forms for the borough, the ward council. Very similar, and only a couple of pages to be filled out, but then there's other paperwork which just is the other notes. So it's quite straightforward form writing.
Yeah, and also then after the elections have taken place, you have to do an expenses submission, which I hadn't realised about, but I can't remember if they chased me up on it or what happened, but somehow I knew I'd got to do that. And so you need to just keep some notes of what expenses you've had.
With those expenses, do they actually refund you for the? They don't.
No, it's
so
to make sure that you're not being funded by the Prince of, you know, Saudi Arabia or something to put an oil well on your doorstep. It's that sort of level, you know. It's trying to get out, weed out corruption. So it's about, so you'd have to put your leaflet expenses, you know, if you'd paid £80 for 5,000 leaflets, then that would go forward. Or, you know, if you've done it on the behalf of the Love Party, then it doesn't matter who pays it. This much has been spent on the election. Yeah. So it's just about that. So I think that's all there is, really. It's not actually a convoluted process. David, did you have something else?
Election agents. If you don't want your name, if you don't want your address to appear on, I don't know if it's the electoral register or something, because as a councillor, obviously, because I live with Catherine and she doesn't necessarily want people knocking on the door saying, is the parish councillor there? then you can have an election agent, so that if the Love Party had like an office or something, so that
We have a PO box. We have a PO.
they don't do PO boxes. Has
Oh,
to
they
be
have done in the past.
I mean, one thing that we could is just as a possibility is like Lindsay could be my election agent, I could be his, just so that
Yeah, you're not
the
in the
address,
right
if they
same
want to come
area.
knock on the doors, they got to go 300 miles to do.
I'll check that, because in the past PO boxes have been completely acceptable. They have certainly been used by a lot of people. I mean, it's a PO box that comes to my address. They just deliver it here.
Also, if you don't put your address there, I know people might have to search more for it. They can search, like the electoral register, unless you've not allowed your address to be on there. But also, didn't I hear the other week that you don't even have to use your
don't even have to use your real name.
Yeah, I mean, to actually vote, they've got to have the photo ID now, but you don't even have to be that real name person.
Mad,
It's just
it's mad.
Absolutely.
Yes, there are MPs there aren't under their real name, usually because there's somebody else who's got that name. But yeah, it is a bit mad. I think you should be at least the real person. Anyway, yes, David.
Yeah, one thing Lindsay mentioned, the town councillor and the ward councillor. Can you explain what's the difference between the two in a nutshell?
Can I explain, even though I put myself forward for both? I would say they have meetings in different places and they've got different things that they're overseeing, is all I know. And honestly, it was such a sort of rush to get it all in. And initially, I was just going for the district council one. But then I think somebody highlighted that there was the parish one as well, and I was eligible to go for both. And then if you are elected and you're the highest past the post or whatever they call it for both of them, you can't do both roles, I think, usually. And you might have to decide between the two of them which one you go for, and then the next one in the running comes through, I believe.
So I'm wondering, I'm curious that again with the ward council, the borough council, there are 3 people, and I say in the town there's 11. One of the mayor is on both as the councillor for the town and for the ward, and the people that are on the ward, from what I can see of it, have got a good background and experience in sort of the town council. It's the next sort of to my and from what I see of it,
they've already
next stage up.
The thing is, the borough council is made up of lots of wards. So there's 3 from there's 3 councillors representing your ward, but there's also so many from another ward. Depending on the size of the ward, they get a different number of councillors on the borough council. So the ward is, you don't have to, like I say, you don't have to stand in your own ward. If you like your councillors in your own ward, you might not want to go against them. It might be better to go in a different ward, but you just have to be in the same borough. That's the only thing. Okay, I think, are we done for now? Or do you think we've covered pretty much everything? So it is, I think the first step is to decide. You can look on your local website. So go to, say, for me, it's Rushcliffe Borough. You go on there and look at the local elections, and you see what elections are coming up, what seats are up for grabs. Decide what you want to stand for. Go down to county, or not. Go down to the offices, the town offices or the county offices, and collect your forms or get them sent through to you. And then you need a couple of nominations, sometimes 10. I think Julie needed 10 for mayor, didn't you? And
no, I haven't done the mayor one yet. I had to have 10 for the by-election. The previous ones I only needed 2 for, but I wasn't sure if that was because of lockdown and everything. But no, my last one I needed 10 for, and that's when I literally did knock on people's doors. And though most of them were lovely, there was just one person that shouted that she didn't want to. So I just said, that's fine, I'm going. And yeah. So
yeah, you need your nominations. They are free to, I think the mayor you have to pay a deposit, but the council ones, local councils are free. For the parliamentary ones, parliamentary by-elections and the general election, it is £500 deposit. So
And you get
that's a
the
bit-
deposit back if you get 5% or more.
so
of
you
the-
need to, yeah, it's worth the campaign, isn't it?
and
Um,
it's the people that actually bother to vote that decides how many is the 100%, and then you get 5% of those at least that need to have voted for you. Okay.
But for the council, no deposit. For the local councils, no deposit unless you're going for mayor, as Julie is. Okay, and so yes, I hope you all feel able to go and talk to your town hall or your county hall, get your forms and have a go. Okay, are we done? Are we complete?
And reach out to us for support.
Yes, we're here. We've got the leaflets. We've got a template going, so we will be able to let you have that template and get some printing done.